So let's see, today is July 29th, 2019. I'm in the home of Bob Schultz in Busti, New York. The purpose of this recording is to collect Bob's oral history of how a cider press followed him home and how he reinstalled it here, made it part of this community in Chautauqua County, New York. So you've told me part of this before, but please start from the beginning and leave no detail untold, please.
Well, when I was traveling back and forth, my parents are in Niagara County, New York, my parents and Judy's parents. So we were driving along and we saw this what turned out to be the cider press sticking out through the roof of a collapsed building. So we went and thought about it a while and offered the lady to buy it. And she was a widow. Her husband and her had operated it for a number of years. It was a family business with her brother was part of the farm, and they split the farm when I guess when she got married or whatever. And it was the Wagner farm on, I believe it was Lockport Road in Niagara County, going between Lockport and Niagara Falls. And she agreed to sell it for $100. And we said okay, and when we came up to buy it, she wanted more money. She wanted $50 more, so I gave it to her. And she explained a little bit about her farm and how she came to have the cider mill there and so forth. And I don't really remember about the details. But then later I was in the Direct Marketing Association in New York State, and her brother, who was the Wagner, has a little market there next door, and that was the other part of the farm. And I talked to him, and he told me about the details, that it was bought by someone in LaSalle, New York, part of Niagara Falls, and it was run, and because there was an electric motor there, I assume it may have been run by electric, because in Niagara Falls they were trying to find places to utilize electricity when they started making it. And so they it was all there, and I brought it home and parked it for a year or two and decided where we were going to put it over here on the property. First we started further over, and then we ended up where it is now. And we moved the press. We built the foundation. My son and I, he rented a loader and got rocks out of the creek. And I guess in the meantime, we built a stone foundation for the bridge and built the bridge, and then the cider mill was on the other side of the creek. At one point, we saw what kind of a mill it was and what it was. And I see you've got the information there on the B.F. Clyde cider mill. That, yeah, I got that too. We went over there. I don't know how we got to know that there was a cider press similar to ours over there, but we went to Connecticut and looked at it. And he gave us some basic information about how he ran the press. Oh, I know what it was. Judy and I had been traveling. We went to Mystic Seaport, and somebody mentioned the cider mill, and So we went over and visited him. It was a Thanksgiving Day, and he was just closing up. So we talked about it a little bit. Gave us some information, speeds of the RPMs of the running the pulleys that drove it, and things of that nature. And so we came back, and then later he called us, or some way we talked to him, and my son and I went out and looked it over again, and he gave us a little more information on how to set it up. We came back and started scrounging up, in addition to building the building, we had to scrounge up line shafts, pulleys, a motor. We bought a Bessemer 8 horsepower single engine hit and miss engine, and it turned out that wasn't powerful enough. We then put a tractor in there with a belt pulley on it, ran it with that for quite a few years, and finally decided that electricity was the way to go. It's just too easy to push a button and have things running and so forth. So we got the three-phase current in here, and a motor, which we picked up pretty reasonable. We're very good scroungers, and we would find things wherever we could that might fit the bill. And we got a whole pile of leftover parts up in the attic that we just didn't need, but thought we might use someday. So we finished the building. Actually, we finished the foundation, put the press in place because it was large, and started building around it. We built the building around it, and then disassembled the press itself, all the steel parts and so forth, and sandblasted it to clean it up and painted it, and then reassembled it and started putting the line shafts, pulleys, and all that together. Of course, we had to get close to 1,200 RPMs on the...
That's an overhead belt system, isn't it?
Yeah. It's hanging off the ceiling, and there's one up in the attic that, in order to get the speed down to where, from the motor down to what we needed some reduction, so we had to go from a small pulley on the motor to a larger pulley, and then down through the floor to I don't know what the sizes are, but to drive the line shaft that drives the cider press. We started running with the Bessemer engine in '83, and very soon after that we found it was unsuccessful. It didn't have enough power, and we put the tractor in there. It was a International M, and it was bigger than it was necessary, but it's what we had. My son John had it on the farm, and we needed it for farm work, so we took it out and brought a small John Deere H in, which is one of the smallest John Deeres made, with a single-cylinder engine. And it ran it very well, but we worked weekends and evenings. We were both working, so we didn't have time to work during the day. And it invariably run out of gas at the wrong time, and when we had it, had people there waiting, and so we put the electricity in, and it's a three-phase system. We got a motor old used electric motors are pretty cheap, so we got 25 horsepower, and that was what the Niagara Mohawk at the time required to get three-phase power. They wouldn't hook up anything less. And 25 horsepower was more than adequate, but it did a good job. And what you don't use, you don't pay for. But $25 for a 25 horse motor was pretty reasonable. So we put that in. And then over the years, we built wooden racks. We built a new table that where it was sitting, they had the building that had collapsed. They had spray material sitting on the table for the orchard, and we knew that wouldn't fly, and so we made a new table at that point, and we changed it again a few years ago when my grandson was there to help, and that's where we went.